Hi, Bankable Beauties. This is Jessica Joy Revelis with Women Who Work TV live in Hollywood. I'm coming to you as a professional writer and editor with a vast background in marketing, almost 15 years now, working in specifically fashion, beauty, health and wellness, and lifestyle. So today, I'm sharing with you how to write a blog post that sings and sells. And I'll be sharing my top 10 tips that I've collected over the years. And of course, there's many, many more tips that I could get into. I've narrowed it down to 10 specifically to suit the format of my mini masterclass, where I've partnered with Dorothy Inez Del Tufo. So I'm super excited to bring you this content. So let's get right into it. I'm going to share the first 5 tips in this first segment. And then the second segment will have the last 5 tips. And then I'll open it up to any questions that you have through the Facebook group, the mini masterclass online, as well as within the Bankable Beauty community that my lovely friend Dorothy Inez runs expertly. So thank you so much for your interest and in hearing from me. Okay, so tip number 1, this seems like it's just a no-brainer, but you would be surprised, even on my own, how many people don't start with a marketing calendar or an editorial calendar. So even when I started out in blogging, it was not something that I just initially put in place, and I was, as a result, very disorganized in the beginning of my blogging career and just kind of all over the place trying to piece things together. And so an editorial calendar is a no-brainer, but it's so important, and it needs to be said that you really want to put together and map out either, they could be themes related to whatever your topics are that you're addressing in your business. Also, they can be related seasonally to whatever's going on at that time of the year. So one of the things that I do in my business is I have an editorial calendar template that I use. It's color coded. And what I do is I plug in very strategically themes and topics, and I add that catchy, punchy headline in every on every day that I'm going to be posting. I add that tag, that headline, and then also I make a little note of any articles that where I can draw inspiration from. These are reputable sources like the Huffington Post. Specifically, and most recently, when I've done work in health and fitness and nutrition, maybe it's things like MyFitnessPal or Mind Body Green is another great resource as well. WebMD, sometimes depending on how technical the information is going to get. And so I put all of those notes and ideas into my editorial calendar, and then I can map out every week, what's on the agenda. So I really recommend, if you can, whether you might be you might have this hidden writing talent within you that's just waiting to come out, and you could have an idea for a blog, and that's a great way to get started is with this editorial calendar, so you can really map out a roadmap for success. You might already have a blog and you're looking to optimize it and kick it up a notch, which some of the other tips are going to help you do that. Or you might be writing as a contributor or writing a guest post for another publication or partner. And so some of these tips will be really great for you in terms of pulling together information and organizing it in a way that's polished, professional, and of course, sellable. So that's the first tip. Second tip is be authentic. So there's so much noise out in the marketplace. Everybody's trying to peddle either their products or services or whatever content that they're putting out there. The marketplace is very, very saturated with all types of content marketing messaging. And so what people are mostly drawn to, I've found in working with all types of different clients in, again, fashion, beauty, health and wellness, and lifestyle spaces, is that voice is really what sells. And so it's very important to establish, really a marketing strategy is what you need. And if that's too kind of big and overwhelming to tackle at once, at least tackle the voice. So voice and tone. Voice is like your personality, and tone is like your attitude. So your personality is not going to really change very dramatically over the long term of your writing and blogging. But your attitude could change, right? So there are going to be times when maybe depending on the topic, depending on the character or the tonality that you're developing for a blog, that could kind of go up and down depending on what you're writing about. But the personality, the voice, the character of who you are and how you say what you say is really, really important. So, for example, when I'm writing advertisements or when I'm writing blog posts or even social media, it's really important for me when I work with clients to determine, okay, well, what is that personality look like? Are we writing tongue-in-cheek? Is it funny, witty, clever, professional? Is it more of a dry personality? What might that look like? So you want to really pin down, who you are. How do you inflect that tone? How do you convey your voice and personality of the type of verbiage that you use, if it's casual, if you use slang, if you use more professional verbiage, that's all really, really important. And people are drawn to your personality. So they're not even necessarily always going to be drawn just to your topics, but they'll come back for you if you're really authentically portraying who you say that you are. So voice is very, very important. And you'll want to find a way to stand out with that voice. Okay, so number 3 is going to be a formula that I've developed over the years in blogging for clients. And again, in marketing, we're trying to sell a product or a service, correct? However, sales looks a lot different than it did 5, 10, 15, 30 years ago, where, it's not about the hard sell anymore. It's really now with content marketing at the forefront of of everything in marketing, right? It's about value-added content, personalizing content. So you see personalized emails come to you all the time in your inbox. But also blog content should be personalized as well, if as much as possible, and customized and packed with value. So for example, a hard sell for maybe a program that I might be selling, for example, could be, just a straight CTA, a call to action, buy this now, and here's, a couple bullet points of why. Well, that's great, but people don't necessarily respond to that type of a hard sell anymore, or even direct mail and things like that. So especially when they're reading online, their time is limited. They're scanning, quite frankly, scanning information and not really digesting all of it. But they will, and they'll spend more time on your site and on your blog if you provide value-added content. So that's why, even for example, with this little master class that I'm doing now, I'm giving you 10 real tips that work that I've honed over the years, and not just giving you, trying to sell you the product or service that I might be offering, or just giving you the highlights and not really giving you value that you can actually take with you and implement in your business. So value-added content is really important, because that's what that's what they want, and that's what makes them trust you and build a rapport, so that they feel like, okay, this is someone that I trust, that I would potentially refer or buy from. Okay, so value-added content is super important. The formula that I like to use when writing for marketing blogs in particular that are either selling something or, maybe at least addressing a particular topic, and then having a soft sell where, you're pushing the idea of, as an example, with a nutrition blog that I write, you're pushing the idea of a healthy lifestyle, and that's what this company promotes, or they promote a meal service or some kind of professional product or service. Then what you'll want to do is you can do this formula. So you're going to have an intro with a hook, and it can be somewhere around, I would say, 4 to 6 lines. Or 4 to 6 sentences, 4 sentences, where you hook them with your tone and something snappy and catchy, and then you make 3 points and give them value. So maybe, and it doesn't have to be 3, but that's just a suggestion for keeping to length, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But it could be 6 ways to look your best every day, or 6 ways to build confidence in the workplace. That's great. So outline those points and give a little blurb on each area. You can even add links to reputable sources where you've pulled inspiration. And then you're going to have your anywhere between 3 and 4 line outro or conclusion, where you kind of do a little recap and you give them something to take away outside of your 3 or 6 or however many points that you're making. So what that giveaway is the CTA, the call to action. So I know that you love this post. Now you've got some great tips on how to feel confident, how to boost your confidence at work. Read more in my downloadable book on motivation and self-confidence, whatever that might look like. The CTA could be, that you're offering one-on-one coaching. It could be the free downloadable. It could be a downloadable that they pay for, or a membership or a subscription. So there's a lot of different ways towards the end of the blog that you can ease your audience into a directive that you're giving them, also known as a call to action, or CTA. Okay. Fourth is create a snappy, clickable headline. So how-to headlines do really well. So how to build your confidence. Also, when you use numbers, 6 ways to build your confidence now in the workplace. In this case, today's class, top 10 blogging tips, right? Create a blog that sings and sells. And then number 5 is going to be to give your reader some breathing room. So you've got all this content, and I am going to talk about length as well. I think it's one of my later tips here. Yeah. So when you've got a lot of content, readers don't want to see blocks of text with no imagery or nothing to break up the monotony. So you can break things up with subheaders, with bulleted lists, with quotes, and with imagery as well. There's a lot of ways to break up the text, and that helps people who scan kind of get through the material, and then hopefully lead them through towards the end of your blog so that they're actually reading more of the content and spending more time on your site, which then impacts their likelihood of purchasing from you. Okay, so those are my top 5, and then I've got 5 more for you. We'll be back in a moment.